Well, as we mentioned, Sydney's Northern Beaches is in lockdown as health authorities try to contain the growing coronavirus cluster ahead of Christmas. A public health order is in place for the local government area. The outbreak connected to Avalon RSL and the Avalon Bolo has now grown to 38 cases. That is an increase of 11 infections traced to that particular outbreak. There are an additional 2 new cases in Sydney with no known source. Locals are being ordered to abandon all non-essential activity until Wednesday. And the Premier isn't ruling out restrictions for Greater Sydney if the outbreak cannot be brought under control. Acting Chief Medical Officer Paul Kelly supports the move and has rejected suggestions the action should have been taken sooner.
To put us all in context, as always, there are a lot of cases going on in the whole world right now. We're up over 75 million cases, 1.6 million deaths. Almost every country is affected. And after a good run here in Australia the last few weeks, unfortunately we do have an outbreak. We've all learnt together and we're all in this together over the last few months. We know what needs to be done and the New South Wales health authorities are doing exactly what's needed.
The stay-at-home request is now a stay-at-home order. The Northern Beaches plunge back into the same restrictions New South Wales experienced in March. 250,000 residents allowed to leave home only if they're an essential worker or carer, to buy food and other essential items, and for medical care or exercise.
And we're hoping that will give us sufficient time to get on top of the virus so that we can then ease up for Christmas and the new year.
There's been 23 new COVID cases. 21 are linked to the Avalon cluster, which has grown to 38. 2 new cases on the Northern Beaches have an unknown source, but experts are confident they'll find a link to the cluster.
Every case seems to have some connection, some more tenuous than others, but some very direct to the Avalon RSL and the Avalon Bolo. Those who attended on the 11th at the Avalon RSL and 13th at the Bolo certainly need to come forward and be tested.
We have had some additional sequences which all confirm the data that it's the same cluster. So it's as expected, but it's always reassuring to get that information that shows your thinking is correct.
The Premier is expecting to see a similar number of positive test results tomorrow. She's flagged there's a chance the lockdown will be expanded to other suburbs or the whole city.
So if you were planning a night out tonight, we ask you to consider changing those plans and staying at home. We want people essentially to stay at home tonight and the next few nights so that we can ensure the virus doesn't spread. We will be considering today, after consulting obviously the relevant people, whether this time tomorrow we do revert back to some restrictions in Greater Sydney.
If nothing changes, the Northern Beaches lockdown will end at 12:01 a.m. on Christmas Eve. Charlotte Mortlock, Sky News, Sydney.